In this video, we would look at comparing and ordering fractions. So there are two tips you need to know in comparing and ordering fractions. The first tip, for fractions with the same denominator, the fraction with the greater numerator is the greater fraction. So for example, you have 2 over 5, and you also have 3 over 5, or let's say 4 over 5. Fractions with the same denominator, so they have the same denominator. The fraction with the greater numerator is the greater fraction. So 4 over 5 would be the greater fraction here. This is the greater fraction. Okay? So that's for the tip for fractions with the same denominator. Now for fractions with the same numerator. Okay, let's take for example 3 over 7 and 3 over 10. For fractions with the same numerator, the fraction with the lesser denominator is greater. So these are two tips for you to just know the difference, or to know what to do to get the greater fraction where you have the same denominator or where you have the same numerator. So when the numbers at the top of two fractions or more are the same, the greater fraction, if you have two, or the greatest fraction if you have more than two fractions, will be the fraction with the lesser denominator, or the least denominator, as the case may be. So in this particular case where we have two fractions, this is the greater fraction. So when the numerators are the same, the fraction with the lesser or the least denominator would be the greater or greatest fraction, depending on how many fractions you have. And then in this case, where the denominators are the same, the fraction with the greater numerator is the greater fraction. So these are two tips to just help you as you move on in ordering and comparing fractions. So let's try this out. 2 over 5 and 3 over 5. So let's try to order this from greatest to the least using these tips. Which will be the greatest? Okay, I believe you got the right answer. We have the same denominator. So that means the numerator, the greater numerator is the greater fraction. So this would come first, the greater fraction, and that will be followed by 2 over 5. Okay, let's try this out. 2 over 5, 2 over 3, and 2 over 4. Let's order this from the greatest to the least. Now, here we have different denominators but the same numerator. And remember the second tip, fractions with the same numerator. For fractions with the same numerator, the fraction with the lesser denominator is greater. So we're ordering this from the greatest to the least. We'll start with the fraction with the lesser denominator. That will be 2 over 3 is greater than 2 over 4. It's greater than 2 over 5. So this would be a good way to order it. Okay. All right, let's see one more. Okay, let me take this out. So we'll try one more ordering, where in this case we're going to have different denominators and different numerators. So this tip might not work, although there's also a way we can make it work. If there is a way to multiply the denominators to give us the same denominator. Okay, so if we can multiply the denominators by a particular number and give us the same denominators, and whatever we do to the bottom, to the denominator, we also do to the numerator. All right, so if you're to order 3 over 8 1 over 2, 1 over 4, and 3 over 4. Okay, so let's try this out. We have two fractions with the same denominator, but we have two other fractions with different denominators. So one way we can go about this is to make sure they all have the same denominator, so it's going to be easy. So just check out the denominators mentally. Is there a way we can make all the denominators the same? Actually, there is. If you multiply this, remember the knowledge of equivalent fractions? Okay, so if you multiply this fraction by 2, you would have 8 as the denominator, and you have to multiply the top by 2 to balance it out. So let's multiply these two fractions by 2 and this fraction by 4, all in a bid to have 8 as our denominator. So this remains the same, 3 over 8. Okay, if we multiply 1 over 2 by 4, 1 times 4, and 2 times 4, this would give us 4 over 8, an equivalent fraction to 1 over 2. This would multiply by 2 to get our 8, and you do the same number up. That will be 2 over 8, an equivalent fraction to 1 over 4 to get the same denominator as 8. And this will also multiply by 2, multiply by 2. So this would give us 6 over 8. Now we have the same denominators, and we can compare or order the fractions as the case may be. So this time around, let's order from the least to the greatest. Remember this tip for fractions with the same denominator. The fraction with the greater numerator is greater. So this is quite actually easy. So that means the fraction with the least numerator is the least fraction. So which is the least here? We'll start with 2 over 8 is less than 3 over 8, less than 4 over 8, less than 6 over 8. Okay, so this is the ordering of the fractions: 3 over 8, 1 over 2, 1 over 4, and 3 over 4, right this way. So that's how you compare and order fractions, okay? Just bear this in mind. The first one is actually, to me, quite important because we see more of that, the same denominator. And then even if you don't have the same denominator, the same numerator like what we have here, you can just check out the denominators. Is there a way you can make all the denominators of your fractions the same like this? If there is a way, you go ahead and do that and then compare your fractions easily. All right. Okay, so let's take this word problem for an example. A pair of socks is 1 over 10 off the regular price at $28 at store A. A pair of socks is 1 over 10 off the regular price of $28 at store A and 1 over 5 off $28 at store B. At which store will you get a better buy? Okay, so if you just want to use fractions, 1 over 10 and the 4 store is the same amount of regular price as $28 right here. $28. So let's just compare fractions. 1 over 10 and then 1 over 5. So we can use the second tip where you have the same numerator, which is what we have here. When you have the same numerators, the numerator with the lesser denominator, the fraction with the lesser denominator, will be the greater fraction. So 1 over 5 is actually greater than 1 over 10. And 1 over 5 is what you have off $28 at store B. So that means the price here would actually be greater than the price here. So the store where you would actually get a better buy will be store A. Okay? And then if you want to use the other tip, you can just multiply this by 2. Multiply this by 2, you'll then actually have 2 over 10. So you can use the first tip here. Now you have the same denominators but different numerators. The same denominators, which is a greater fraction, 2 over 10. Okay, so 2 over 10 will be more. 2 over 10 of 28 will be more than 1 over 10 of 28. So it's going to be quite expensive at store B compared to store A. Okay, and then for a third confirmation, let's try this out. You can just work it out. 1 over 10 of, remember of means multiplication, of $28. Okay, this will be $2.08. $2.80, sorry. And 1 over 5. Okay, let's use the 2 over 10 this time around, sorry, since we already have it in that equivalent fraction. So we'll use 2 over 10 of $28 of times $28. This will give you 52 over 10. That's 28 times 2. Sorry, 56 over 10. And this will be $5.60. So which is cheaper. This is cheaper, the first store. Okay, so store A will be a better place to buy your pair of socks. All right, so we've come to the end of the video here. Thanks for watching. For more videos, practice questions, and valuable resources, do visit www.inowunderstand.com. And I need you to always remember this: you are loved, you are smart. The world needs you. Till we meet again in the next video, keep on being the best version of yourself. Bye.